Shadowing is a fantastic exercise, but I don't really do it often. In this video, I'm going to explain why. Shadowing is a must-do exercise for anyone who's working on their accent because it's important that you develop your ear. You must learn to recognize the vowels and the consonants that do not exist in your first language. It's also super important to start recognizing the melodic patterns of the language. If you can't hear those vowels and those consonants that you're learning to produce yourself, you can't recognize them. And if you can't recognize them, it's going to be super difficult for you to pronounce the words correctly. But this is not the whole story. I see that many people are super successful with the shadowing exercise. After a certain number of iterations, and we're talking many iterations, they are able to read a movie scene or a passage from a book or a fragment from a famous speech perfectly. They sound impeccable. They can imitate not only the pronunciation, but also the rhythm, the intonations, the pitch, everything. And it's fascinating, but we have to remember how many iterations it takes. This is a great exercise to practice prepared speech. You have to do it over and over and over and over again until the melodic pattern of the movie clip you're working with has become so familiar and so ingrained in your brain that you can effortlessly repeat it. Not only because you listened to it many times, but because you practiced saying it out loud and imitating the actors so many times. When I sit down to do the shadowing exercise, I can be pretty successful and it doesn't take me long anymore to imitate the intonations, the melody, to show the same emotion. I need to repeat it and to listen to it maybe about 10 times. And I can do a very good job. I have to be clear though, I work with American movies. I think it can take me forever to do a shadowing exercise with a scene from a British movie. If I have put in enough effort, I can read it perfectly. I understand what the standard is because I can listen to the original clip and I know if I'm there. I know what I need to do to get there. I'm super attentive to myself. And I can see my own progress. But again, in a spontaneous situation with a stranger, I feel very different. And I feel that all this work that I do as I do the shadowing exercise doesn't really help me be more spontaneous. Here's what is true. I'm sharing what's real. When I'm in a conversation with a stranger, the person I don't know what to expect of them. I don't know what to expect of myself in a conversation with this person. Or when I need to respond to someone on something and I'm not prepared. Or when somebody asks a question and I don't know what to say. Or this is the question that I'm hearing for the first time. Absolutely different mechanisms are being triggered in my brain. There is no one to imitate. There is no standard. There is no one I can listen to and repeat after them. There are no correct answers that I can simply repeat. And I feel very different in those moments. What I mean by different is that I noticed that all this work that I can do so well when I sit down and concentrate on the movie scene, when I focus, when I remove distractions and just listen to this over and over again, and I am able to repeat it pretty well. But all this work means nothing in a situation when I need to be spontaneous. All the skills that I have and that are useful for me when I practice prepared speech become inaccessible when I'm in a situation of adversity, risk, uncertainty, and I have to act now, and I have to say something now. It's not something that I can bring with me to my spontaneous conversations with people, unfortunately. Maybe you have a different experience, but that's my story. Once I realized that practicing prepared speech is very different from practicing spontaneous speech, I started separating the two. I know that reading out loud is the exercise that helps me master prepared speech. I know that the shadowing exercise is something that helps me master prepared speech. And I also know that it does not help me in spontaneous conversations. In spontaneous conversations, I go back to what's normal for me. And every time I fall back to the norm that I'm trying to change, it's a very clear signal for me. It's a very clear metric that I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I can learn this monologue easily. I can demonstrate excellent results one time, but I need to do it over and over and over again. One time. But it doesn't help me sound as clear and as eloquent and as beautiful as I would like to in spontaneous conversations. I need to do something very different. That's why I prioritize the self-correction exercise when I practice my spontaneous speaking skills. I don't do the shadowing exercise on purpose anymore because to me, right now, it's a waste of time. What I do instead is I do the shadowing exercise in between my self-correction exercises. If I hear an interesting thought, I will repeat it out loud. If I see a beautiful quote and I listen to someone say it out loud, I will repeat after them and I listen very carefully to how they say it. I listen to the melody, I listen to the intonations, I listen to the rhythm, I pick up the vibe, I listen to everything, and I have developed my ear quite well. But I don't see it as a useful or a must-do exercise for me. But I can't really say that I did this exercise religiously. I didn't. I think I never did. As I said, I had been working so hard on synchronizing the sound, the spelling, and the meaning. I had been doing the synchronization exercise for so long. This is what I had been doing religiously because I wanted to make sure I hear every word that native speakers say and how they connect the words and why I can't hear some words. Oh, because they're linked. Oh, because this is how they connect them. Oh, because they're flaps. This is what I had been doing religiously. And because I understand how connected speech works and how words behave in sentences, I think that's why the shadowing exercise is relatively easy for me to do. But again, only if I work with American movie scenes. You give me an Australian movie scene or an Irish movie scene and I'm lost. I'm honest with you. But I made a conscious decision to practice the American accent. That's why my focus is there. And I didn't like doing the shadowing exercise for the sake of doing the shadowing exercise because, in my opinion, imitating a native speaker without a clear understanding of what you're doing, what you're repeating, how the sounds are being linked, what is happening in your mouth, what it all means, without having the understanding of the fundamentals, without being able to connect the work that you're doing in your mouth with why you're hearing what you're hearing and how the words that you're seeing end up sounding this way. Without this, the shadowing exercise is useless to me. It's pointless. You are able to imitate someone very well if you've done it enough times. But is it sustainable? That's the most important question that I ask myself. Can I repeat it on my own? Can I do it myself? Can I do it when I need to do it in my conversations with people? Not when I sit down to do an exercise and block an hour for the shadowing work. But can I do it anytime I need it? Can I do it without preparation, just like that? Because I'm ready. Because I know what I'm doing. Because I'm used to this type of work. That's why I do not prioritize the shadowing exercise. I prioritize the self-correction and the synchronization exercises. They help me develop my spontaneous speaking skills. And right now I'm being spontaneous. I do not have a script. I do not have a script for any of my YouTube videos. Every time I sit down to record a video, because I have an idea that I want to deliver, I just sit down and do it. And that is something I'm grateful for. When I see that I'm able to do that, I know that I'm practicing the right way. I know that I'm doing something right. If it's also important for you to work on your spontaneous speaking skills, consider including the synchronization and the self-correction exercises in your practice routine. The shadowing exercise needs to be there too, especially if you're working on your accent, especially if you're working on the shape of your vowels. You need that input, but you also need the output. And you need to synchronize the two. You need to make sure that the two work together. If you can do something once because you had been preparing all night, it doesn't mean you can do it anytime you need it in the future. It doesn't mean you can replicate this success. And learning a skill, to me, means that if I have really learned it, I didn't do it one time, I can do it again and again and again and again, anytime and every time I need it.